So this morning Achan gave me this little warning that I will be invited to share some Dhamma reflections. So in this afternoon I was reflecting what topic should I bring. We have now the Vesak time. There is many Dhamma talks about Buddha's life and about Buddha's enlightenment, which is fitting this time. But I was not quite confident about that. And taking shower this afternoon, I was walking down from my room, seeing this Tibetan tanka, this black and white drawing in the staircase. So looking at these 12 pictures called Nidanas, it is a picture of Paticca quite a difficult thing to understand actually completely. But sometimes getting inspiration by these things. So looking at the first picture, the Paticca starts with avidya, blindness. And on this iconographic imaginary, there is a blind man possibly stepping into dangerous areas, not knowing that they are dangerous. So that's the first thing where it starts. Avidya, not knowing the things how as they are, the beginning of all problems. To start the Dhamma talk with that goes very quickly into quite difficult thing to understand, the nature of reality we live in, which Buddhism is very clear, it's very different from that as it appears to us. And there is a famous part in the scriptures where Buddha is giving us a very strange message. In this fathom-long body, there is the world. There is the beginning of the world. There is the end of the world. There is the path leading to the end of the world. In this body. You know, just giving a little bit touch that this topic can get, the topic about objective reality, what reality is all about, can get very difficult to follow. So we have here the mother of our Anagarika Martini, and not to give some strange topic at the beginning, I was thinking, no, this is not the good topic for this evening. So I was going to the second picture, which is Avidya Pachaya Sankara. And Sankara is very close, these are the Buddhist terms, which takes time to understand it. And in a much easier way to understand the second link of the conditions, the easier, more familiar rendering of Sankara is karma. And everybody has already heard many things about karma. And I thought, well, this is the right topic for this evening. Because who knows a little bit the life story of Buddha, and especially the night of enlightenment, it starts with karma, remembering past lives, seeing how the karma works, how it influences our life. In my story, actually, karma was topic right from the beginning, but having rather a rational mind, technical mind, I am not a believer. That's not simply my nature. I have difficulties to blindly believe things. So, of course, my understanding of karma can be a little bit unusual, because I am not presenting a set of things, throwing at you things you should believe. Rather, I am going the other way, how it makes sense to me. And as I said, it was a kind of a topics right in the beginning. And it was my first written booklet, Karma, Rebirth, Samsara, published by Buddhist Publication Society. Fortunately, Bhikkhu Bodhi was the chief editor at that time, so he polished the whole thing, so it could be published later on. But indicating that in my understanding of Buddhist teaching, it was from the beginning very important element, which makes sense and explains so many things in our life. Why the things happen in my life as they happen. You know, it has this kind of an explanatory power, much more than psychology, in my view. You know, psychology can explain also many things, especially with the idea that in the early childhood, many things are burnt as a ROM almost in our brain, that certain reaction patterns are deeply fixed in the brain of the child, that later on, even it lost already its purpose, actually we're still repeating these neurotic patterns much later through our life, and we are making our life unnecessarily miserable by that. So certainly psychology can explain quite a lot. I was doing psychotherapy quite a year long. I benefited greatly by that. Fortunately, it happened about 10 or 15 years after my first meditation. So I had already a solid background to know how the mind plays games with us all the time. And I was motivated to work hard in the therapy. First, it was a Jungian doctor in Bern. And of course, Jungian therapy, it works with your dreams. I was a little bit missing the therapeutic work, which I needed to dig deep into these patterns of my mind. And the next therapy I was doing was kind of a bioenergetic and gestalt group therapy. And that was something which was working very strong. You have a group like this one, and the therapist is making talk with each of you individual. You are exposed, and you know, the talk is about very private things. And the people in the group are some friends there as well, as we were. And you are very exposed. And then it starts to work, and people crying and people seeing. That was perhaps crying. I was crying probably after 40 years without a teardrop. No, I was trying during my first meditation in Diablere, in the solitary hut. I started my meditation 45 years ago, and meditation started to uncover these deep down things. So there was crying there, but even the therapy, perhaps I can share this little, that was an exercise with, I don't remember his name. Young man, also spiritually inclining. We were a group of about 15 people, meeting once in a month for the whole weekend. We started Friday evening, and the whole Saturday was a full therapy day. The morning with bioenergetic and the afternoon with Gestalt. And in the evening we were playing psychology games. Very, very interesting. And one of the exercises in the afternoon, the therapist brought little trays with a clay. And we were always two and two and two and two and two, sharing one tray. And always there should be a kind of agreement who starts and who will be the observer. So Ursula Flickiger was starting and I was the first observer. And the person who was doing, he had a closed eyes, and he should, with his touching sense, he should give some form to the clay, to modulate something out of the clay. And because it was probably too old, the clay got so hard, it was hard to dig it at all out of the tray. So Ursula was more or less just kind of striking it, and she started to cry. And I was wondering, why is she crying? And then, okay, so her turn was over and it was my turn. And knowing that the clay is so hard, so I made the kind of decision, I will go hard into that, and I dipped my fingers into that hard earth and kind of grip it out. And the only thing I could do with that was a kind of a ball. So that was a one ball. Well, now what? So I dig again another. So I could make another ball. I put it on the first one. Then was still a little bit inside. So I took it, again, the only thing I could make was a ball. I put it on the top of the tree, and then I suddenly noted, well, it's like a snowman. So actually I formed a little bit the legs out of the bottom ball. I turned it against me, and when I was forming the hands, I started to cry really, because I was holding myself as a child in the child bathtub, like this inner contact with my childhood, which was so difficult, crying so deeply, so real, like holding myself, metta. That was a touchy experience in the therapy. So indicating, just telling you, inspiring you, there was a kind of feeling that only crazy people need some therapy. Now it is rather opposite. Only crazy people don't go for therapy, because we all have some kind of a scars from the childhood. And if you have such a good luck as I had to work with excellent people who know spirituality as well, so it can get additional component of the spiritual path, which can work on area where the meditation doesn't work quickly. Especially insight meditation works on the roots of the problem, but it takes time. And the therapy can address our life difficulties more directly. So practical results of therapy was quite quick, and I benefited from that. I used to be extremely shy person. To speak in front of audience, that was the horror. But it changed when I was ordained in Burma, some 24 years ago. Even before being ordained, we had already Dhamma group in Bern. And I introduced some additional meetings when we were preparing kind of a topic for the others. We were a small group, about 6 people, interested to really be active also in understanding of the Buddhist teachings. And we were changing, everybody had some topics, short Dhamma talk, 10 minutes. And having the first presentation among close friends, your heart would go like that. Yeah, it's changing the role suddenly. My biggest presentation was on a World Buddhist Summit where I got the closing talk. 2,000 people around you, all the highest Buddhist monks of Burma behind me, all the ambassadors of television crews everywhere. No problem at all. So it's just a habit, you need just a little training and it will come, no problem. And especially the forest tradition is wonderful, that you don't need to prepare your Dhamma talk. I did not know at all I will talk about therapy this evening. You have a topic perhaps, but you never know where it will lead to and where it will end, if it will end at all. So now, karma, back to that. I don't start my Dhamma talks by Namo Tassa Bhagavato, because I know I will bring lots of my personal stuff, which I don't want you to believe just. Please put your filter, truth-checking filter, in front of your ears. It is rather presented as something for you to reflect on that in your own way, how you resonate with these things. If it makes sense, if it doesn't, leave it out. To start with this topic, karma, for me, it started to be important because it is explaining so many things. The scriptures, Buddha did not talk too much about it. It has a very important part or position in his teaching. Let's be clear about that. But at the same time, he defined karma, the law of karma, as one of the 4 achintayas, which are the 4 areas the normal, ordinary human mind has not the capacity to understand it fully. So let's be clear that always there will be areas which are not accessible to our normal human understanding. But there are also quite some definitions in the suttas which indicates how the karma works. The first things which is important to know, that karma is not fate. Before continuing, I would like to mention and explain the 2 different ways the term karma is used and understood. Originally and etymologically, karma means action or the deed, by body or verbally by speech, or even mentally by thinking. Even mental attitudes are already karma. Good to know this one. But already here Buddha brought a more precise definition. He said it is not the action itself, it is the volition or intention behind the action. Cetana is karma. That's what the Buddha said. So all this is the first understanding of the term karma. The second one is a little bit more difficult to explain, and it is more frequent in the Western world. When we refer to good or bad karma, what we mean actually by that is the potential which is remaining behind our imperfect actions. If the action, if the deeds are in alignment with the nature of things, there is nothing remaining behind. But because our mind is distorted, we are self-centered, we are influenced by attachments, by desires, by resentments, by not understanding the situations correctly. Our mind is very often one-sided. So our actions are normally imperfect. And this kind of imbalance towards the nature of things, this creates a kind of a potential, a latent potential, which is remaining behind our imperfect living. And this kind of potential wants to discharge its potential back into our life. And that's the kind of vipaka. Then we are speaking about the result of karma. But in the meantime, between the cause and the effect, there can be quite lots of time. So when we are in the West referring somebody has a good karma or bad karma, we usually refer to this latent potential which is waiting for the opportunity to bring the fruition, to bring the effect into our life. So I think with this explanation we can continue with this Dhamma talk. The usual culture, our human Western culture, is evaluating the deeds by the effects our deeds have on our environment. You know, how we are influencing the others or our environment. The spiritual understanding is different. The spirituality is much more interested in that, how by my deeds I am influencing myself. That's the spiritual primary understanding of karma. How I am changing myself by decisions, by doing things. In the Tibetan Tanka, the picture for karma is a potter. So important and so well portrayed. Karma is the clay. And you are the master, you are the potter who is making out of these dispositions, which you are coming into this life with disposition from the past. And you are the master of your life. Of course, the quality of the clay has also something to say. If there are too many stones in that, if the clay is very rough, almost like a sand, very difficult to make nice shapes out of that. Let's be clear about that as well. So the karma is also limiting our possibilities. But still, the general understanding in the Buddhist teaching is that you are the master of your life. You are the architects of your life. You have the steering wheel. So the karmic forces are just dispositions coming into maturity, coming into fruition. We call it vipaka. Karma is the kind of a condition, and when it influences your life, and when it gets the opportunity to put its potential into your life, that's the vipaka. Then that karma has given its potential back into life. If you believe into past lives, and the Buddhism has a lots of this kind of a conviction that this is not the only existence we have, that before there were different past existences, and the karma is that, the unfinished business. The karma is that from the previous existence which goes into this one. sometimes people are asking what is connecting the past life with this one when Buddhism is telling there is no self. What the scholars are agreeing, it is the stream of consciousness which always arising and passing away all the time. It is the stream of that kind of existence potential which connects the past life with this one. And because we are kind of consuming the karmical potentiality through this life, by reacting to the things which are happening to us, we are creating no new karma. It is a kind of perpetuum mobile. The uninstructed person is constantly reacting. Reaction, especially the automatic reaction, is blind, which is usually based not on wisdom, but on likes and dislikes, on ego references. And that's a kind of a new potential which influences the future. And if you want to know your karma, look back in your life. Things which are repeatedly occurring in your life, the bad ones and the good ones, are quite clearly motivated or caused by past karma. The mistakes you have the tendency to repeat. Now, getting a little bit into the explanation given in the scriptures, what is caused by karma? First of all, the place you are born and the family you are born in. It is not so that your parents choose you, you choose the parents. It is the karmic affinity, the unfinished business from the past endless lives, which is attracting the people together. And it is the good karma and the bad karma as well. All the unfinished business will bring the people together again. And because the fully realized people finished all this unfinished business, they are not reborn anymore. They don't need it. They have learned the lesson. So, the place, the time, and the family you are born. Now, the karmic disposition are already there. Not agreeing with the psychology, you are not born as an empty sheet of paper. Not at all. And the mother who has few children, the mothers know that each child is different right from the beginning, from the first day. You are not coming empty. There are already things in this newborn baby. Of course, the parents are trying to wake up the positive side, activate the positive karmic resources of the child, so that we have a good next generation. It doesn't work always. We know that very well. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. The psychology has the tendency to give the blame to the parents. My mother dropped me when I was a small baby. Of course I am so miserable now. You know, that's the voice of psychotherapy. Not at all the Buddhist voice. It is the karma of the child which will draw it out of the environment, so it happens. The ego, our ego, has the tendency to interpret the events in our life. The surrounding is doing that to me. I am the victim. But that's just the voice of the ego. The reality, the spiritual reality, my karma is attracting these things on me to happen. And of course, the environment gives it quite gladly. That's the spiritual truth. And you are not the victim. Now, my understanding of karma is technical. I would actually put law of karma into physics. Like in the physics, we have the law of conserving energy. Yeah? No energy can tracelessly disappear, but the energy can, how you say in English? Transform into another, into heat or like that. But it cannot tracelessly disappear. So this is my take on karma. To help you to understand it this way, my way, look at the life of fully realized people, like Buddha. They can do still very strong actions. Like Buddha was actually founding the whole enormous teaching with so many people, certainly having difficulties with many of the young monks. And he had to act quite clearly, make some rules and all that. It was certainly not easy. But what is the quality of fully realized people? That they are, even with each situation on the spot, there is nothing, there is not this Rattenschwanz, how you say in English? Rat tail. You know, this track, this thirsty line remaining behind our life. Because we don't have this kind of a clear knowing what are the situations. We react. The fully realized people only resonate with the situation. Just what is the situation calling for? They give it. You know, the karma of fully realized people is called kriya, functional. Anyway, the translation is functional. So the fully realized people don't have ego. They don't react to the situation, they resonate or respond to the situation. That's the cardinal difference. So there is nothing remaining behind the life of these realized people. That therefore there is no rebirth. There is no reason to be reborn again unless they have developed so much compassion to serve the humanity further. Not in Theravada. In Theravada is never mentioned that, but in different types of Mahayana and Vajrayana, there is this possibility, out of compassion, even the fully realized person can be reborn again and serve humanity. But whatever, you know, these are the different ideas within Buddhism. Explaining the principle of karma, that it is energy of disbalance. If you are always even with everything, there is nothing remaining behind your life. But when you have ego, when you see and understand things wrongly, you react out of your impressions and likes and dislikes. You create heavy disbalance of the natural forces, which is a potentiality which can accumulate, and this kind of potentiality is waiting for the opportunity to give this potential back into your life. This is vipaka. This is the time when some particular karma find the opportunity to influence your life. It is a little bit like the second law of thermodynamics. Do we have some physics here? Entropy. Yeah, entropy. So that's the kind of a law that the disbalance can get even. At least the temperature has this tendency. They were saying that people are applying this law a little bit too freely. So I've certainly applied this law too freely. But, you know, bringing this idea of nature, that it is the law of nature to get back into the balance, into nirvana, into this peace. And that we are those who are making these waves of disbalance. So from the purely spiritual point of view, karma is negative, even the positive one, because it is just the positive disbalance. But Buddha was quite clear in the statement, don't worry about your good karma. Be very worried by your negative one, because it can influence your life that it will become such a kind of misery. This is the kind of mindfulness in our everyday life. Have a magnifying glass on motivations of your thoughts, of your speech, of your deeds. Because this is where the karma is created, by cetana, by motivation. When you are motivated to do something out of your resentment, out of your anger, out of your hate or jealousy, this is a heavy negative karma. When that influences back your life, you will feel so miserable. You know, this is the kind of responsibility you are getting from the Buddha's teaching, and also the positive outlook that you can learn with applying mindfulness to your inner mental household, applying the right effort, not to allow the negative thoughts to come into and develop in your mind, and applying effort to promote and develop the positivity in your mind. Because things which you do out of your loving kindness, out of your compassion, out of your wisdom, this is the positive karma. When this karma will influence your life, you'll be free, you'll be happy. You will see so many opportunities in your life. Everything open. You can go everywhere. Everything positively responding to you. So, understanding karma also as almost a physical kind of a force, sankhara. We don't have yet the instruments to measure the ethical quality of our mind, of our deeds, of our responses. But perhaps the future will develop something like that. Actually, it was the somehow famous monk, Sri Lankan monk, Venerable Narada. And he was bringing very nice picture. Not this thermodynamics law, but he brought the picture of water. There is a sunshine on the ocean and there are evaporization going up. And because up there is some cold air, it condensates. Then these clouds are traveling over Europe and over Switzerland and Swiss Alps, and there is a snowfall on the hills and some rain. And the nature of the water is to flow down. Wherever is the opportunity, it has the nature to flow down. And even if it is snow building a glacier for hundreds and thousands of years in a frozen state, the glaciers are moving slowly, slowly, slowly. One day it will break off, fall into the valley, it will melt. And the water will have again the nature to flow down. And even if some animal drinks, it will come out again. It may get into the soil, the plants may take it and perhaps evaporate again, it will fall again, but the water will still have the nature to flow down in the creek, in the river, until it reaches the level of the sea, of the ocean. And that's the vipaka. Then it is coming into balance. This excellent picture, how karma works in our life, it is in a latent state. There is this unmanifested, still unfinished karmic potential waiting on the opportunity to give its influence into your life. So first, it was the general idea, karma is something which is actually hindering the access to our real home, to the sublime peace of Nibbana, Nirvana. So in that way of understanding, it is something which is rather on a negative part of understanding. But then we are more specific, and the karma starts to be the good and the bad, the wholesome and the unwholesome. When the wholesome karma ripens, we are happy. When the negative karma ripens, something bad is happening to us, or we feel miserable or whatever. So this is the second kind of understanding of karma. But there is one sutta in the scriptures which is speaking about 4 types of karma, and that's the most important way of understand. It is the black karma, which means the negative one, the white karma, the positive one, the mixed one, which is the most of our karma. Usually the motivation is mixed. There is probably some kind of wisdom influencing our decisions, but there is also usually some greed or resentment towards things. So mixed karma, where the result of mixed karma again is mixed, but then it comes the karma which leads to the destruction of karma. And that's why we are here. That's the Eightfold Noble Path. To be free of that. So, understanding in these terms gives us perhaps a little bit more careful feeling about our life, that we have a responsibility. There is one sutta talking about 7 effects to get the idea how karma works. There were people asking Buddha, why some people have a short life and the other has a long life? Why people are sometimes so healthy and another going from one illness to the other? Some people rich so easily, and other people striving the whole life and having just for the next day. Why some people are beautiful and some people ugly? And why some people are popular, having so many friends and influence, and the others are rather, no friends, no interest, no popular? Why is all that? And Buddha, in that particular sutta, gave some kind of a general guidelines. But to indicate these things, which you may believe or not, do with that as you wish. What is the cause of short life? Killing. Killing in this life, killing in past life. When it is done repeatedly, it has influence on the length of the life. What is the reason of illnesses? Especially not of your flu, which is caused by viruses and bacteria, but there are another illnesses where the cause is sometimes quite difficult for the doctors to find the diagnosis at all. What is the cause of illnesses? Cruelty. Cruelty towards animals, towards people. In past lives, in this life as well. Let's be clear that according to Buddhist teachings, lots of karma is coming from past life, but of course even during this life, we are actively adding every day, every hour to our karmic potential, and of course being influenced constantly by the vipaka. It's a kind of a perpetuum mobile. So the opposite always leads to the opposite. Why some people are so healthy? Because having respect for living beings, protecting the life. And some people today have so much joy protecting animals who are treated sometimes so cruelly by the humanity. You see it in your life. Why some people are beautiful and another not? The girls are extremely interested to know that one. The anger and ill will and hatred, of course, these mental factors, when repeatedly occurring in the mind, that will give an ugly appearance to that person. And the opposite, if somebody is cultivating nice qualities in the mind, like forgiveness or loving kindness, benevolence, that will shine through the face almost instantly. You don't need to wait till the next life. Some days you look in the mirror, you like yourself, and other days, wow, what happened? I cannot go like that on the street. So, giving these ideas. Now, why some people are rich so easily, getting access to the abundance so easily, and other people are really at least feeling miserable, financially, attacked from all sides, not earning enough. I have the tendency to see the karmic results more in the mind than in the effectual physical conditions of our lives. It is rather the inner feeling to be rich, even if you don't have almost any money. The monks have experience with that, because by definition we don't have anything, actually, money. We should not have money, private money. And some of us can feel sometimes, at least sometimes, really rich in the heart. And other people even having millions on the bank account and feeling so miserable. So, the karma, in the Asian understanding, it is more the material manifestation around these people. But I would rather stay with the mental feeling, if you feel rich or poor. And what is the reason for that? The great heart, wanting to share with others. This is the way to the richness. And being stingy, the way to the poverty. It's beautiful, isn't it? What is the reason for popularity and reason not to be liked and loved? Because the differences are very, very big, actually. Even, different situations in our life, it can change. The patterns of karma influencing our life can change through the periods of our life. The kind of jealousy which makes our heart so narrow and closes it. The neighbor has again got new car which is bigger than my one. This kind of a misery in the heart, that is the way of not to be popular among people. And the congratulation, my colleague, now you are my boss. It certainly in your professional life happens many times. This congratulation for success of others. If your heart can open that far, that's the way the karmic force will make many friends around you. You will be attractive to many people. So these are the guidelines from the scriptures, very general, very rough ones. You know, within one lifetime, let's be clear, within one lifetime, the karma does not show the results very clearly. And you will feel lots of injustice happening in this world. But if we go to the enlightened night of Buddha, it was the full moon of Vesak in May. It started with understanding how the karma works through the lifetimes, how it sometimes has to wait in a latent state for many, many, many generations until it finds the opportunity to influence the life of that particular people. Seeing it in a very, very large perspective, then it starts to be the law. But within one lifetime, there are only indications. So we have to live with that. How I was understanding also karma vipaka in a kind of a very practical perspective. That out of the enormous multitude of things around us through the day, the karma is influencing our attentiveness where we are directing our attention. You know, seeing always, you see this cushion, it is not in the middle of that mat. These monks, you know, and always the same. I told it already so many times. They don't live. You see that? That pattern which you can develop in yourself? Always picking the wrong things around you. Always making yourself miserable with critical attitude towards everything. That also this, in this microscopic level, the karma would be that actually what is a little bit pushing your attentiveness, that you always fix on a particular kind of things. Of course, this can change from day to day. You know, we are going through different moods. There is nothing definitive in that. But how it can influence our life, for example, even in this microscopic level. And so karma makes sense to me on many different levels. Again, to continue with that, what is the scriptural effect of karma? Where we are born, to which family we are born, which are so decisive facts for the whole of our life. But even later on, the sharpness of our senses. Many things are in the DNA, and the science is quite sharp on that, but not everything is in the DNA. Actually, as I have read somewhere, the new understanding of DNA, it is not the blueprint for the whole body. It was some idea about 15 years ago that the whole plan for the body is in a DNA, which doesn't seem to be right at all. The DNA in your arm or in your knee is exactly the same. There is something else which tells the embryo to develop the heart, the eye, the bones. There is something different in the play. So, sharpness of the senses, meaning not the shape of your body necessarily, because that is perhaps another influences, but how your eye works, how your touching sense and hearing, and your intellect and your intelligence. Because in Buddhist understandings, even the mind is one of the senses. There are 5 senses plus mind. So in Buddhism you have six senses. So even the sharpness of your intellect, intelligence, emotional intelligence, that all is influenced by karma, according to the scriptures. But later on, certainly your partner, it is not haphazard that you fall in love or not fall in love, whatever was the cause of the marriage. With that person there is a long, long story. Lots of unfinished business, positive and negative, which it is the affinity, karmic affinity. You know, why? Why you connect in your life with some people and never with the others? Karmic background. And if you are running your business, you know that connections, that's it. If you don't have connections, better close it. Yeah? How heavily with the years these things are so decisive in our life. And of course, by the quality of the karma, how much happiness and how much sorrow we have in our life. The result of karma. So I think talking enough about that.